Welcome. You did not come here by accident. Be still for a moment. Breathe. What you are about to hear is meant for you. Something shifted in you, and you cannot pinpoint exactly when it happened. One day you were engaged with life, feeling things deeply connected to people and purpose. Then slowly, almost invisibly, a wall went up, emotions became muted, conversations started bouncing off you instead of sinking in. You found yourself going through motions without really being present for any of it. And the enemy wants you to believe this means something is broken inside you. He wants you convinced that you have failed somehow, that your faith is slipping, that God has stepped back because you did something wrong. But I am here to tell you a different truth today. What if that disconnection you feel is not malfunction? What if it is divine protection wearing a disguise you did not recognize? Your spirit, your mind, your entire internal system was designed by a God who knows your limits better than you do. And sometimes, when pressure mounts beyond what you can consciously process, He does something merciful. He puts up walls you did not ask for. He numbs what would otherwise overwhelm you. He disconnects you from stimulation that would destroy you if you kept absorbing it at full capacity. This is not abandonment. This is a father shielding his child. Let me show you 7 signs that what you are experiencing is protection, not punishment. Number 1, you feel numb, but you have not stopped praying. Your emotions went quiet. Worship does not hit the way it used to. Reading scripture feels mechanical, but here is the thing that matters. You are still doing it. You keep showing up even when you feel nothing. That persistence in the absence of feeling is not dead faith. It is the deepest kind of faith there is. Anybody can seek God when encounters are electric and emotions run high. But continuing to pray when heaven seems silent requires something most people never develop. Hebrews 11:6 says that without faith it is impossible to please God. Notice it does not say without feelings. Your emotions took a step back so your faith could take the lead. That numbness protected you from making decisions based on spiritual highs and lows instead of covenant commitment. Number 2, social situations drain you in ways they never did before. Being around people used to energize you. Now it costs something. Even gatherings with people you love leave you needing hours alone to recover. You started declining invitations, not because you dislike anyone, but because your system cannot afford the expense right now. This is not antisocial behavior. This is spiritual energy conservation. When God is doing internal work that requires your full resources, He will reduce external demands. He pulls you back from the crowd the same way He pulled Elijah back to the brook Cherith during the drought. 1 Kings 17:3 records God telling Elijah to hide himself by the brook away from everyone. That hiding was not punishment, it was positioning. Your sudden inability to handle social demands might be God positioning you for something that requires more of your internal reserves. Number 3, you cannot connect emotionally even with people you genuinely love. This one causes the most guilt. You look at your family, your closest friends, people who deserve your full presence, and you feel a strange distance, like glass sits between you and everyone who matters. You want to feel connected, but you cannot seem to reach across that invisible barrier. Before you condemn yourself, consider this. When Elijah fled from Jezebel and sat under that broom tree wanting to die, God did not rebuke him for his emotional state. 1 Kings 19:5 tells us God sent an angel with food and water and told Elijah to rest. Sometimes emotional shutdown is your spirit forcing rest that your mind refused to take voluntarily. That inability to connect is buying you time to be ministered to before you minister to anyone else. Number 4, your mind keeps going blank at random moments. You walk into rooms and forget why you went there. Conversations slip out of your memory minutes after they happen. Your thoughts feel scattered, like someone shuffled the deck and did not put the cards back in order. Normally, this would alarm you, but lately it just feels like background noise. Here is what is actually happening. Your mind has reached processing capacity and it started deleting non-essential information to protect core functions. Think of it like a computer, closing background programs to keep from crashing. Isaiah 26:3 promises that God will keep in perfect peace the mind that is stayed on Him. Sometimes that keeping looks like reducing mental load, so your focus can remain fixed on what actually matters. Those blank moments are not cognitive decline. They are automatic filtering. Number 5, decisions that used to be simple now feel impossibly heavy. Choosing what to eat for dinner feels like being asked to solve complex equations. Small commitments paralyze you. You stare at options that should be obvious and cannot seem to move forward on any of them. This decision fatigue haunts you constantly. But think about what this slowdown is doing. It is preventing impulsive choices. When you cannot decide quickly, you are forced to wait. And waiting creates space for God's direction to come through. Psalm 46:10 commands us to be still and know that He is God. That inability to decide might be enforced stillness. God knows that in your current state, rushed decisions could cost you. So He slowed down your entire decision-making system. What feels like dysfunction is actually divine protection against choices you are not ready to make yet. Number 6, your tolerance for drama and conflict has dropped to almost nothing. Arguments that you used to engage with now make you want to walk away immediately. Gossip that you once tolerated now feels physically repulsive. People who thrive on chaos have become unbearable to be around. Your patience for nonsense has completely evaporated. This is not you becoming cold or judgmental. This is your discernment sharpening. When God prepares someone for a new level, He often rewires their tolerance for things that would contaminate that level. Proverbs 4:23 tells us to guard our hearts with all diligence because everything flows from there. Your reduced tolerance is automatic heart protection. Things you used to allow access no longer get past the gate. That gate is not malfunction. That gate is God upgrading your spiritual security system. Number 7, you keep sensing that something is about to change even though nothing looks different. Nothing in your external circumstances has shifted. Same job, same relationships, same daily routine. But something inside you knows that the ground is about to move. You cannot explain it to anyone because there is no evidence. Just this persistent inner knowing that refuses to quiet down. That sense is not wishful thinking. It is prophetic discernment. Your spirit is picking up frequencies that your natural eyes cannot detect yet. Joel 2:28 speaks of God pouring out His Spirit so that His people would see visions and dream dreams. That inner knowing you carry might be the beginning of vision for what He is preparing. The disconnection you have experienced was protecting you from being distracted while this knowing took root. Now that it has settled into your spirit, the disconnection is about to lift. So where does this leave you? It leaves you understood, not by human wisdom that would diagnose and label what you are experiencing, but by divine truth that recognizes protection when the world calls it dysfunction. You did not disconnect because your faith failed. You did not go numb because sin crept in when you were not looking. You did not lose yourself. You were hidden, kept, preserved for a moment that required temporary withdrawal before permanent expansion. Colossians 3:3 says, your life is now hidden with Christ in God. Hidden does not mean abandoned. Hidden means protected from sight until the proper time for revealing comes. You were hidden in Him during this season, and everything you thought you lost was simply stored where the enemy could not touch it. Your capacity to feel is not gone. Your ability to connect is not broken. Your faith has not died. These things have been in protective custody. And the God who withdrew you is the same God who will restore you at the appointed time. Declare that over yourself right now. Say it out loud if you need to. I am not broken. I am being protected. If this message confirms something your spirit already suspected, leave a comment below with the word protected. Let that be your declaration of agreement with what God has been doing in you, even when you did not understand it. And if you want more content that speaks to the deep places most people ignore, subscribe to this channel. There is more to come. And I believe you were meant to hear every word.